Recently, I've received several requests from you guys to do a video on willpower, and I keep getting a similar question that pops up, and it's always going to be worded different, but the question is essentially the same. And that question is, how do I find the willpower to get such, insert thing here, or insert goal or objective that applies to you? But my answer to that, it's pretty simple, and that's that really you don't. Because I don't believe that you need willpower to get really anything done. Having willpower, it will definitely help you get started. It will help you achieve things that you want to achieve. I mean, I absolutely agree with that. But the reality is you don't need willpower. You don't need to harness the willpower to take action. You just need to simply take action. So welcome back to another episode of Sweat Talk. My name is Chad. When we're in search of willpower in order for us to accomplish something that we want to achieve, a goal, an objective, whatever it is that we're seeking to accomplish, any sort of an accomplishment, then if we can't find the ability to just simply stand up and take action and just take one baby step in the direction that we want to go, then that means that we didn't want it to begin with. We say we do, but I don't think we wanted it bad enough. And I believe that willpower is nothing more than a fleeting emotion. It's similar to motivation. It'll help you get off your butt. It'll help you get going. It will help you take action. But in the end, the reality of that situation is willpower isn't necessary to accomplish anything. You don't need it. You have to have a desire to accomplish whatever it is, whether it's getting your finances straight, whether it's losing weight or getting healthy in any way, shape, or form, going to the gym, fixing that old car that's been sitting on blocks in your driveway or out in the field, remodeling your house. Name your objective here. It's not willpower that's going to get it done. It's the desire for the end result. So if you have the desire for that end result that is greater than the desire to sit on your ass and not do anything about whatever that end result is that you desire, then you'll never do anything. So like I said, willpower and motivation, it'll help you get up and moving. It will help you take action. But both of those, the willpower and the motivation, they're both fleeting emotions. They're not going to stick with you. If all you're using is motivation and or willpower to take action and to get the end goal or end objective accomplished, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So at some point in time, we've all experienced the ability to harness our willpower. We've all felt motivation. We know exactly what that feels like. But we also know that because we've experienced those, and because we are in the particular situation, and we are asking those questions, which are good, valid questions. But because of those reasons that I mentioned, that means that we also know without a shadow of a doubt that those are fleeting emotions. At some point in time, most of us have even experienced tenacity, right? And tenacity, that's like the end boss of the video game, right? That's the level 10 end boss that's nearly impossible to beat or to achieve. But when you have tenacity and when you experience tenacity, then that means that nothing is going to stand in your way. Nothing will be able to stop you because you have the tenacity to keep going. But the coolest thing about this is the more hard things we do, the easier it is to do even more difficult and more hard things. So neurologists and brain scientists have studied a brain structure here recently that's called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. Look it up. It's actually extremely fascinating. And what that does is it proves that the more often we do difficult things, the easier it becomes to do those difficult things. Hello. So essentially what ends up happening is the more often you do difficult things, the larger this brain structure gets, which in turn makes it easier to do those hard things. So I was watching Andrew Huberman. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with him. The way he was explaining it was extremely fascinating. He was saying that that if you go and you take a cold shower, for example, if you enjoy that cold shower, then that structure inside of your brain is not going to grow. But if you go and you take that cold shower and you hate it and it sucks, then that brain structure will grow. And if you do that every day, it's going to continue to grow. However, if you don't continue to do it every day, then it will shrink back down. One of the things that they found in their study was people that were obese. They have a smaller anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And that's because obese people oftentimes are not willing to do difficult things, hence why they are obese. And like I understand, some people they want to blame their thyroid issue or some other condition or whatever, but the fact remains that if you get up and move, you will lose weight. I'm living proof of it. I used to be extremely overweight, but I get up and move and I do difficult things every single day. So the most incredible part of this study is we actually have scientific data from a legitimate study that proves the more hard things we do, the easier it is to do more hard things or more difficult things, which in turn, in my opinion, it also means that willpower is not necessary. But I think the point that's actually being missed here is the fact that all that's required in order to accomplish these hard things, is the drive and the need to actually take action. That's all that's actually needed. And when we have that drive, when we feel that motivation, or if you want to call it willpower, when we feel that, we need to harness that and we need to apply it and take action. And when we do that, then the next thing we need to do is we need to create systems. Because we know without a shadow of a doubt, like I was saying earlier, it's going to be a fleeting emotion. It's not something that's going to stick with us. We will lose it. But if we seize that opportunity and we create systems, we put systems in place that are going to allow us or force us to follow through with that initial action, then that's how we're going to set ourselves up for success. But I think the key point here is to not overcomplicate it, right? Like, we have a tendency to overthink things. We all have a tendency to overcomplicate things. We look at certain situations and we get overwhelmed, and then we get stuck with analysis paralysis, never taking action or never moving in any direction whatsoever. So take diet and nutrition, for example. Like I remember watching this doctor. He was a YouTube doctor, right? And he was talking about some simple equation that we should stick to while we're going grocery shopping. So like, we should be walking through the grocery store and we should be doing arithmetic in our head with this simple algebraic equation in our heads. We need to count the hell out of calories before we consume anything. We need to weigh our food before we eat it. We need to track our macros. It gets complicated as hell. When the reality of the situation is, quit eating processed garbage. If it doesn't grow naturally, don't eat it. And if you just stuck to that principle, that in itself will allow you to be fine. You won't be overweight, and you'll lose a metric shit ton of weight. I've said it a million times, I'm a carnivore. All I eat is meat. I don't eat vegetables. I don't eat anything but meat. I'm not saying that that's what works for everybody. Some people say that they need vegetables. So eat the vegetables, but stay away from copious amounts of fruit that has just tons and tons of sugar in it. Eat vegetables and meat. Whatever works for you, do that. The willpower let's look at finances. If we look at finances, it's the same, it's going to be a similar situation. We think that we need to have willpower in order to get our finances straight, right? I read a statistic that 48% of Americans are carrying a month-to-month revolving balance, when the simplest answer to that is quit putting money on the credit card. Like, quit buying things. If you have a problem with spending your money, or if you have a revolving debt, then you need to stop using your credit card. If you do not have cash to pay for it, do not use a credit card. And the thing is a lot of us, we don't use credit cards as the tools that they can be used for. Personally, I don't carry any debt. I have my mortgage on my house. That's it. But I haven't always been this way. I used to carry a metric shit ton of debt until I got sick and tired of nonstop paying for the banks to get wealthier as I'm getting more and more broke and missing out on investment opportunities for myself. But it took a stern wake-up call. It took a serious hard wake-up call. And I ended up using credit cards as the tools that they are or can be to get me out of that hole. So this is not financial advice. This is actually extremely risky, what I'm about to tell you, because if you don't do it properly, you will find yourself in an incredibly piss poor situation. But what my wife and I decided to do was we took all of our debt and we put it onto 0% credit cards. So like we had a truck. We used to have an FJ Cruiser. There's actually videos of it from several years ago where I was working on it. So I want to say we had like a $16,000 balance on that credit or on that truck. So in order to pay that off, we went and got a 0% credit card. We were able to take one of those balance transfer checks at 0% and pay the truck off with that check. You can't pay a truck off with a credit card, but when you write that check, the bank doesn't give a shit. They got a check. Now it does require extreme amounts of discipline. It does require extremely good credit as well, because that meant that we had to have a $30,000 credit card, because they won't allow you to put more than 50% onto a credit card for a balance transfer or one of those checks. So what we ended up doing is you have 0% for 12 to 18 months, but we were sick and tired. We were fed up with the situation that we were in. So we just continued that with the rest of our debt. We kept $1,000 in our bank account to cover any unforeseeable situations. And we used that same credit card to pay off anything. And every bit of our money, every bit of our paychecks went directly into paying off that credit card. So we did not have a revolving balance outside of what we put that from that truck. So that cost us $300 to write that check for that balance transfer, but we eliminated all of the interest that we would have accumulated. So the thing about the way that the automotive loans is structured is, like all of the interest is paid up front, right? So it's all front loaded. So you have to pay off the interest before you pay off the principal. So 50% of your payment or more is going to go towards interest. So that $300, I mean, I don't remember what my payment was, but that $300 was paid back within a month or two, and we had the truck paid off in just a couple of months. And we just continued to repeat that cycle until all of our debt was gone. We had no debt. And it only cost us a couple $100, and it worked amazingly. But the thing is we were committed. We had the vision to see the end goal. We took the action that we needed to. We thought outside the box, and we did what we needed to do in order to accomplish our goal. So I do not recommend doing that, because it is incredibly risky. And the reason why it's incredibly risky is if you fail to pay off that balance within the 12 or 18 or 6 months, however long you have that 0% for, then you owe all of that back interest. So that required a commitment. It required us to take action. It required us to actually get after it and commit to something that had an end goal. But if it's not done right, you will get burned. However, in our situation, we knew what we were going to do, and it worked out amazingly, and it saved us thousands upon thousands of dollars in the end. So I'm not recommending doing that in any way, shape, or form, because most people do not have the discipline to do that. But what I'm getting at is it didn't take willpower for us to stop spending our money. What it took was our end goal. We were sick and tired, and the discomfort that we were experiencing on a daily basis, what it amounted to was the discomfort that we were experiencing at the time outweighed our desired end result. And until you get to that place in your life until you feel that where your current discomfort is so uncomfortable that it's worth it to achieve the end goal, or it's worth it to take that initial action, it's worth it to think outside of the box, to do something that's going to help you get ahead faster. That's what it requires. It does not require willpower, but instead it's the structure, it's the system that we create in the meantime. When we have that burst of motivation, when we experience that, in that situation, my wife and I, we created a system that we could both agree on. We created a system that was going to work, and we stuck to that system whether we liked it or not. So people that have a phone addiction, right? They'll go to bed, they'll put their phone right next to their head. They'll use it as an alarm clock, and And that's the justification that they'll use of why they sleep with their phone next to their bed is because they need to use it for the alarm clock. Well, you can go on Amazon and spend $3 and get an alarm clock shipped to you, and it doesn't require your phone. Use an actual alarm clock. That is one system that you could use in order to beat that phone addiction. If you're trying to lose weight, if you want to eat healthier, stop buying the junk food at the grocery store. You know, I understand the concept. It sounds simpler than it is easy to actually implement. Because here we are again, simple and easy, they are not the same thing. However, the concept is the same. How bad do you want the end result, and how bad is the discomfort that you're living in right now? You know, I can't tell you exactly what systems how to implement. I can't tell you, you know, what to do to get to those systems. And it's because every single person's situation is different. So it would be impossible for me to be able to touch base on that. But the idea still remains. You know, we overcomplicate these systems that we need to implement in order for us to achieve what it is that we want to get to. If we want to get to a place, how are we going to get there? I can tell you the first step is to move. And it doesn't matter what direction you move in, you just have to move. So while you're moving, implement systems. Figure out the simplest way to make sure that you do that exact same thing tomorrow. Get off your butt right now, take action, take one baby step, and move. Commit to doing it for a minimum of 90 days, and you're gonna see yourself in a whole new light. You're gonna see your entire world has changed in as little as 90 days because you decided today that you were going to take action. Probably the most common goal that most people have is they want to start getting into the gym, and they want to find the willpower to get to the gym. How do I start finding the willpower to religiously go to the gym? The very first system that you can implement to make that goal achievable on a daily basis is as soon as your feet hit the floor, you put your shoes on. You put your workout shoes on, you put your gym clothes on, and you go to the gym. Even if you don't go inside the gym, create that system to where you're putting your shoes on, you're not hitting the snooze anymore. You're getting out of bed when you say you're going to and commit to that. And then drive to the gym or go out in your garage or wherever it is that you're going to work out. Go to your living room and put down a towel or a yoga mat or whatever it is that you want to do. You know, these systems, they do not have to be complicated. If writing things down is going to make it easier for you, then write things down. If tracking and logging and keeping track of your data, if that's what you want to do, then do it. But the idea is keep it as simple as you possibly can, because the more things that you implement, the more difficult it's going to be, which is going to cause you to be more likely to take action to begin with. It's going to make you less likely to achieve your end goal. And mind you, again, none of this took willpower. None of this really even took motivation. All it was a willingness to get out of the same situation that you're in. Or a willingness to actually realize your desired end goal. So with that, think about that for a minute. Just think about it real quick and think, what is it that I can do right now to reach my end goal? Or that's going to be the first step in the direction of my end goal. But I say this because most people, they make their end goal so massive and that's all they focus on. They don't focus on the small wins along the way. They don't focus on the baby step that it takes to get to that massive end goal. So then what ends up happening is we become overwhelmed because our end goal seems too massive that we'll never achieve it. I believe that our end goal is not something that we should think about. I believe that our end goal is something that we instinctively know we want. So it's something that pops in your head in an extremely quick manner. You know right now. So I say, what is your end goal? Or what is it that you want out of life? Something just popped in your head when I said that. So you know what it is. Don't stew on it. Take one step. Figure out one step that's going to head you in that right direction and commit to that one step for 90 days. And throughout the beginning of that 90 days, commit to building a system that is going to propel you forward faster and easier. So once you decide that you are going to take that first step, realize and understand that as soon as you take that step, then you're going to be able to grow that anterior mid-cingulate cortex. You're going to be able to grow that brain structure that is going to make those hard things easier. So with that, think about one thing that you can do today that is not going to require willpower. It's going to take one step. It's going to require one simple step in order to move you in the direction that you want to achieve. Is it your finances? Is it your nutrition? Is it your work? You want a promotion? Is it building a business? Is it starting a YouTube channel? Is it buying a new car? Is it whatever? You know, your situation is your situation. But there are actionable steps that you can take today that is going to move the needle for you. So if you made it this far, do me a favor and go down in the comments section, write this word tenacity, just that one word, tenacity, and show up, you know, show that tenacity, show that you're done, you know, and nothing is going to stop you. Because like I said, tenacity, that is a level 10 boss of accomplishment, right? If there is anything that you want to do in the world, if there's any goal that you want to achieve, it's going to require that tenacity. If you have an end goal in mind, if you have an objective, then you have that tenacity. You just have to build a system in order to find it. And I firmly believe that we all have the tenacity and we all have the ability to achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. The only thing stopping us is us. I ask for these short comments because they do a couple of things, right? These short comments, these words that we're going to see over and over and over in the comments section, they are going to help us reprogram our subconscious mind to where we can find and believe that we have the tenacity to keep going. We believe that we have the ability to do this, because sometimes in our subconscious mind, we have these limiting beliefs that are buried so damn deep that there's no other way. How the hell are we going to get past these limiting beliefs? The only way is through reprogramming our subconscious mind, and that's the power that our words can have. That's the power of seeing something over and over and over can have for us. And then it's also one easy thing that anybody can do to show support for the channel, because every time the algorithm sees a like, a comment, and somebody subscribed, then it's going to be more likely to push it out. And then it also shows me who has the tenacity to stick around to the end, who's here with me. So with that, I want to thank you guys for those super thanks that you're giving me. I greatly appreciate your generosity. I want to thank you guys for showing up. I hope you guys are showing up for yourselves. And I hope each and every one of you has a wonderful day. Peace.